Hi all, so apologies for the lack of videos recently. Here's a brief visual explanation of why. Don't know if you saw that. That's my huge workload, never ending, intense art coursework and work and other busy things. Okay, so Becca has already spoken this week about the current situation in the US with regards to reproduction rights compared to the UK, and also the situation in the UK. Firstly, I just want to clarify that I'm not here to debate the case over why I believe that I think it's the right of the pregnant person to receive an abortion. Okay, if it's not your vagina, you don't have an opinion. End of. The debate over pro-choice, pro-life can go elsewhere, personally. I don't mind if you have it, just I would really rather you not have it here. That's not what I'm here to talk about. Today I'm talking about the effects of the current abortion legislation and not whether or not it should be there. In my opinion, too, the NHS is absolutely paramount in keeping the reproductive rights of women with vaginas, people with vaginas. In my opinion too, the NHS is paramount in keeping, the reproductive rights of people with vaginas. Although this is under threat, I don't believe that people, specifically those who are pro-choice, outside of any focused feminist or social justice circle, realise quite how much change is happening or could happen right under our noses. For example, the maximum amount of weeks. People are campaigning to reduce it. It will slowly dwindle. Signatures are needed from 2 doctors in the UK, and all of this is added to the stress of having an unwanted pregnancy, on top of the stresses that your body is going through physically, and being put on a waiting list. There is absolutely no way that we should be resting on our laurels here in the UK, particularly under this Conservative government. The waiting list is something that concerns me a lot as a woman who's pro-choice. In any case, an unwanted pregnancy is something that you would want sorted out as quickly as possible, for your emotional and physical well-being, as well as other things. Obviously, giving the funding, the resources, and the sheer amount of terminations that happen in the UK and are carried out through the NHS, which is about 94% apparently, there is of course a waiting list, and this is should be used to that, but and the only way to skip this waiting list is to pay for a private abortion, and these cost from upwards of £300 to £400, and the price increases as the type of procedure changes as the pregnancy develops. Thinking about the amount of time that it could take to actually complete an abortion after you have realised that you have an unwanted pregnancy really troubles me. Not just for myself, but also when thinking about trans men, for example, who could become pregnant. I cannot even begin to imagine how dysmorphic the presence of a pregnancy could be for a trans man, not to mention the stress of the unwanted pregnancy and the physical and hormonal changes that happen with anybody with a vagina. But on top of these, the stresses of going through an abortion process, and as many know, the effects of such feelings of the triggering dysmorphic feelings that trans men and trans women feel sometimes, they're extremely serious, and triggers like a pregnancy could result in suicidal thoughts, suicide and self-harm. In these cases, the only option out there is for people to pay out of the nose for a private abortion to bump them up the list, and what if they can't do that? I think that's quite scary. Contraception and abortion is something that I believe, and have mentioned before, is not taught enough, barely at all. I had absolutely no idea, for example, I had absolutely no idea, for example, exactly how a termination was carried out until last year, until I turned 18 years old. I think that is absolutely shocking. Obviously, I could have just researched it myself. I had no need to up until then. But that's my point. I think I should have been made aware by people who educate me way earlier. It shouldn't have been something I had to go hunting for. Another thing that I didn't know until relatively recently was that you could bulk order the morning after pill in packs, so you could always be prepared, for example. I had no idea if that happened. From what I had been taught in school or just by the media and etc., was that you had to go to the doctor and it had to be 72 hours afterwards. And I always thought, oh my god, like what if you can't get to the doctors, or what if it's closed, or it's a weekend or a bank holiday, etc, etc. If you have the money to bulk buy the morning after pill, you can, and I didn't know that. I think it's ridiculous. I feel that contraception and abortion information is something that's like passed around feminist circles like secrets, and around school grounds like Chinese whispers, so it's always a little bit wrong the next time you hear it, but never openly and never factually explicit. I don't know if this is just me being ignorant, but I really think that it should be publicly taught. Obviously it's all in the public domain, but I don't think that people should have to learn by trial and error. I think if the government is so touchy about women and other people with vaginas having abortions, why are they not making all our options clear, cheap and easy to access? I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And I think that if we don't really think about where it's going to go, legislation in the future, then we are going to be absolutely screwed. So I don't think we should be complacent about it, personally. Cool. Signing out in my jacket that I bought on a pesky Danes meetup. Yeah. Bye.